galaxy had known fear for a long time. Every star system, every alien empire, every world with life, all of them had bowed to one name, the Dominion. They were not gods, but close enough. Their fleets covered the skies like dark storms. Their soldiers were machines of obedience and pain. When the Dominion arrived, planets did not fight. They surrendered, because no one had ever won against them, no one except one strange blue world at the edge of the Milky Way, Earth. The Dominion had heard of Earth before, a small, unimportant planet with primitive humans, still fighting wars among themselves, still dreaming of stars. When Dominion scouts first saw them, they laughed. "They are too young," said one commander, "too wild, too emotional." Another added, "They will obey, like all the others." But they didn't. The humans did something no other species had ever done. They fought back. The story began on a cold moon orbiting a red star. Dominion soldiers had captured a group of human explorers. They thought it would be easy. They thought it would be quick. It wasn't. Captain Elias Ward of the United Earth Fleet stood with his hands chained, blood on his face. His team had been beaten, but their eyes still burned with fire. A Dominion officer walked closer, his armor glowing with blue light. "You humans do not understand," he said in a voice like iron. "Resistance is not bravery, it is suicide." Elias smiled through his broken lip. "Then we'll die standing," he said. That one sentence traveled far, far across the stars. When the humans escaped, yes, they escaped, and destroyed the Dominion station on that moon, word spread like fire through the galaxy. The impossible had happened. A world that everyone ignored had just humiliated the most powerful empire in existence. The Dominion could not let it go. They sent fleets, ships so huge that they could block out sunlight. They sent drones, spies, and assassins. Every time the humans resisted, every time they adapted, learned, and struck back harder. No one in the galaxy could understand it. How could a race of flesh and bone stand against machines built to crush worlds? How could these short-lived creatures fight without fear? How could they still laugh during war? The answer was something the Dominion would never understand: the human heart. To the humans, defeat was never the end. It was just the start of another fight. They lost cities, ships, and millions of lives, but they refused to kneel, even when the Dominion poisoned Earth's atmosphere for a month, even when the skies burned red. Humanity rebuilt. And soon, something even more terrifying happened. Other alien races who had once obeyed the Dominion began to whisper, "If humans can fight them, maybe we can too." The galaxy began to change. Rebellion sparked in hidden corners of space. Silent uprisings grew into storms. The Dominion grew desperate. They tried to erase Earth completely, to turn it into ash and silence, but humans were no longer alone. A secret alliance was forming. Rebels, scientists, outlaws, even former Dominion officers, all gathered under one name, a word that echoed in every dark place of the galaxy. Earthborn. Captain Elias Ward stood once again, years older, scars on his face, stars burning behind him. "They think we are weak," he said to his crew aboard the battleship Valiant Dawn. "They think fear can stop us." He looked at the hologram of the Dominion fleet approaching, their numberless ships glowing like a second sun. "But they forgot something important," he whispered. "We don't obey." The ship engines roared. The crew shouted, and humanity's answer lit the void. The first shot of the War of Defiance burned across space, and for the first time in thousands of years, the galaxy trembled. Not because of the Dominion, but because of Earth. The clash, the war had begun. Across the endless dark of space, signals of alarm echoed through Dominion channels. Their scanners lit up with human ships, small, fast, and unpredictable. The Dominion had fought many wars, but this one was different. Humans did not fight for empire or power. They fought for something no Dominion soldier could understand. Freedom. Captain Elias Ward stood on the command deck of the Valiant Dawn, staring at the map of stars glowing above the table. Each red mark was an enemy ship. Each blue mark was human. The red marks were many, almost endless. The blue ones were few, scattered like sparks against the dark. "Sir," said Lieutenant Mara Chen, "Dominion fleet approaching from Sector 12. "How many?" Elias asked calmly. 50 warships, maybe more. "And us?" 7. A quiet laugh passed through the crew, not from fear, from habit. Humans had learned to smile when the odds were impossible. "Then we'll make it count," Elias said. The Valiant Dawn turned toward the incoming enemy line. The stars ahead began to twist as the ship entered combat speed. Human ships were not the biggest, but they were clever. They used asteroids as shields, radiation clouds as cover, and tricks the Dominion could never predict. The first volley came like thunder. Plasma bolts streaked across the void, shaking the human ships. "Shields down to 60%, someone shouted. "Keep firing," Elias ordered. The Valiant Dawn returned fire, not with brute power, but with precision. Its cannons targeted weak points in Dominion armor. Places where sensors met hull, where circuits were exposed. Every shot mattered, every move was thought through. Then came a flash. One Dominion warship exploded, then another. The crew cheered, but Elias stayed silent. "Don't celebrate yet," he said. "They'll adapt." He was right. The Dominion fleet changed formation instantly. Machines did not get angry. They learned. They analyzed every human trick, every strategy. Within minutes, they were closing in again. "Sir, we're surrounded," shouted Mara. Elias stared at the hologram, his eyes narrowing. He remembered Earth, the burning cities, the dying oceans, the voices of people begging him to come back alive. He took a deep breath. "Then we break through," he said. "But how?" Elias smiled. "By doing what they'll never expect." He gave the order. "All ships, divert power to engines, prepare for ramming speed." The command shocked even his crew, but they obeyed. The Dominion expected retreat, not attack. When the human fleet suddenly accelerated toward them, the machines hesitated. That tiny moment of confusion was all humans needed. The Valiant Dawn sliced through the enemy line, smashing through smaller drones, firing point-blank at command nodes. The explosion was so bright it turned the stars white for a second. Inside the chaos, Elias heard voices from comms. "Captain, this is the horizon's edge. We've cleared a path." "Copy that," Elias said. "All ships, pull back to Point Sigma. Let's give them a taste of Earth's spirit." The battle raged for hours. Metal and fire danced across the cold void. Dominion ships kept coming. But humans never stopped moving, never stopped shooting, never stopped believing. And then, silence. When the dust cleared, the Dominion fleet was gone, half destroyed, half retreating. The human ships floated in the wreckage. Scarred but alive, Mara walked to Elias, her voice soft. "We did it." Elias looked at the stars and shook his head. "No, Lieutenant," he said quietly. "We survived." "That's not the same thing." He turned to the map again. "This was just one fleet. The Dominion has hundreds more. So what do we do now?" Elias stared at the blue marble of Earth shining faintly in the distance. "We make them remember us," he said. "Every planet they touch, every system they enslave. We'll be there, reminding them humans don't kneel." Far away in a dark Dominion citadel, the Supreme Controller of the Dominion watched the battle reports. His cold mechanical voice echoed through the chamber. "Humans are not logical," it said. "They are chaos." A smaller drone replied, "Shall we exterminate them, Controller?" The Controller paused. "No," it said slowly. "They have become interesting." And somewhere deep in space, in the shadow between stars, something else was watching too. A different power, ancient and silent, stirred for the first time in centuries. They are not ready. A voice whispered from the dark. But soon, they will be. Humanity had won a small fight. But the real war, the war that would decide the fate of the galaxy, had just begun. The turning point. The galaxy had gone silent. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Dominion had been forced to retreat. Entire worlds whispered the same word. Humans. On the quiet side of space, the valiant Dawn floated above a dying star. Her engines flickered, her armor cracked. Inside, her crew repaired and rebuilt. But their spirits were stronger than ever. Captain Elias Ward sat in the command room, staring at the hologram of a planet. Ravos, a Dominion stronghold. It was here the Dominion stored something called the Obedience Core, a machine that sent fear signals across the galaxy, controlling entire species through terror. Destroy the core, and the galaxy would wake up. Lieutenant Mara Chen entered, holding a datapad. "Captain, we've intercepted Dominion transmissions," she said. "They're bringing the core online again." Elias nodded slowly. "Then we move now." Mara frowned. "We don't have enough ships." Elias looked at her, calm and certain. "We don't need ships, Lieutenant. We need courage." The crew gathered in the hangar, faces tired but ready. There were only a few dozen left. Engineers, pilots, soldiers, all wearing the same worn-out emblem, the Earth flag. Elias stepped forward, his voice deep and steady. "We were never supposed to win," he said. "They told us humans can't fight gods, can't change fate. But we've already proven them wrong. We are not fighting for power. We are fighting for the right to be free." For every voice they silenced, for every world they broke. He looked around the hangar, meeting every eye. "Today, we remind them, Earth never obeys." The plan was insane, even by human standards. The valiant Dawn would dive straight into Dominion space, fake a distress signal, and slip a small strike team onto Ravos. The team would plant a charge inside the core and escape before it detonated. Simple on paper, suicidal in reality. As the ship approached the Ravos system, the stars turned blood red. Massive Dominion fleets patrolled the orbit, their ships glimmering like blades. "They'll see us in seconds," Mara whispered. "Good," Elias said with a faint grin. "Let them come." The fake distress signal went out. "This is Dominion Patrol 9-4, requesting aid, engine failure." For a brief moment, the enemy paused. Scanners read the valiant Dawn's hull as Dominion tech, stolen years ago from a wreck. The trick worked. Just long enough for the ship to slip past the first defense line. Then the alarms began. "Enemy detected. Fire all batteries." The valiant Dawn shook violently as plasma bolts slammed into its hull. The crew held on as fire broke out in the corridors. "Keep flying," Elias shouted. "Don't stop until we reach the planet." The ship broke through the last line of defense, its engines burning. "Mara, launch the strike pods," Elias ordered. "Yes, sir." 5 small pods shot out into space, diving toward the planet's surface inside one of them. Elias sat strapped in, his heart steady. Around him were soldiers, tired, scared, but ready. The pods crashed into the metallic ground of Ravos, the heat burning the air. The team jumped out and ran into the dark tunnels of the core facility. Alarms screamed above them. Drones descended. "Weapons glowing, go left," Elias shouted, his pulse rifle firing bright blue light. The humans moved fast, dodging shots, taking cover, fighting with everything they had. Each step closer to the core felt heavier, hotter. The air itself seemed alive with fear. The core was pulsing, sending waves of control through the planet. One of the soldiers fell, hit by a drone blast. Mara dragged him aside, shouting, "Keep moving!" Elias kicked open the last door, and there it was. The Obedience Core, a giant sphere of light spinning slowly. Thousands of alien bodies hung in wires around it. Slaves, their minds feeding the machine. Mara gasped, "Oh my God." Elias stared, jaw tight. "Not God, Lieutenant," he said. "Just monsters." They planted the explosives at the base of the core. The timer was set for 3 minutes. "Captain, that's not enough time to escape," Mara cried. "It never is," Elias said, smiling faintly as they ran. The core began to shake. The light turned crimson. Alarms turned to screams. Outside, Dominion ships rushed to stop them. But the Valiant Dawn was already diving through the clouds. "Picking them up one by one, Captain. Everyone's aboard," Mara shouted. "Then let's go home," Elias said behind them. The core exploded, a blinding flash that tore through the sky. The shockwaves spread across the system, through subspace, through every Dominion control node. Across the galaxy, billions of alien minds suddenly woke up. The fear faded, the control broke on dozens of planets. People looked up at the stars and whispered one word: Earth. Back on the ship, the crew watched the explosion fade into the distance, silence filling the deck. "We did it," Mara whispered. Elias looked at the burning world of Ravos and said quietly, "No, Lieutenant. We started it, because freedom had a price. And the Dominion was not finished yet, in the dark corners of the universe." The Supreme Controller watched the data stream and whispered, "Humans have killed the core, but they have also awakened something far worse." The galaxy trembled again, but this time it wasn't in fear of the Dominion. It was in fear of what would come next, the awakening. The stars were different now. Across the galaxy, millions of beings woke from nightmares. They looked around and realized the fear was gone. The Dominion's grip had broken. Their ships still patrolled, their machines still worked. But their control was cracking, and everywhere, one name was whispered with awe and disbelief: Earth, on the bridge of the Valiant Dawn. Captain Elias Ward watched the screen as reports came in. Planets were rebelling, Dominion stations were falling. The humans had done what no one thought possible, but victory came with a shadow. Lieutenant Mara Chen walked in, her face pale. "Captain, long-range scanners are picking up something strange." "What kind of strange?" Elias asked. "Energy spikes," she said. "Not Dominion. Something older." Elias frowned. "Show me." The hologram flickered. A dark wave was spreading across sectors, devouring stars, turning light itself into shadows. It wasn't like the Dominion's cold order. It was chaos alive, moving with hunger. "What is that?" Mara whispered. Elias stared silently. "I don't know," he said. "But it's coming straight for us." The explosion of the Obedience Core had not just freed the galaxy. It had awakened something buried deep beneath the Dominion's technology. Something even they had feared centuries ago before the Dominion rose. An ancient species had tried to control fear itself. They created the first core, a living machine that fed on emotion. It consumed its creators, and the Dominion had locked it away, building their empire on top of it, keeping it asleep, until humans destroyed the lock. Now it was awake again. They called it the Void Mind. It did not conquer worlds, it devoured them. It spread through communication signals, through AI networks, through fear itself. Every message of panic, every scream, every dark thought made it stronger, and humanity had just given it a galaxy full of chaos to feed on. "Captain," Mara said, her voice trembling, "it's absorbing Dominion fleets. Whole armadas are vanishing." Elias nodded slowly. "Then we stop it." "Stop it?" she said, shocked. "How do we stop something that eats fear?" Elias looked at her with tired eyes. "By being what it can't understand." "And what's that?" "Hope," he said simply. The crew of the Valiant Dawn began their next mission, one not of destruction, but survival. They had to warn the galaxy. They had to unite it before the Void Mind consumed everything. They sent messages to rebel worlds, to alien leaders who once hated humans. "This is Captain Ward of Earth," the message said. "The Dominion is no longer your enemy. Something worse is coming. We must stand together or we will all die apart." At first, no one answered. The galaxy had never trusted humans. They had been too reckless, too wild, but then one by one replies came. The insectoid Kral offered their fleets. The crystalline Veeri offered energy shields. Even the machine remnants of the Dominion offered data on the Void Mind. A fragile alliance was forming, one that should never have existed. In the center of it stood Earth, while others argued and calculated. Humans acted. They built new ships, repaired old ones. and began preparing a counterstrike. They didn't know how to win. They only knew they couldn't give up. Then came the first attack. A signal burst from the dark, spreading through comms. A dozen ships vanished instantly, their crews screaming before silence. "The void mind is in the network." Mara shouted, "It's using our own systems." "Cut all transmissions," Elias ordered. "Go dark." The Valiant Dawn shut down everything. Lights, power, comms. They drifted in darkness. Surrounded by stars, the silence was heavy, suffocating. Then Elias spoke softly. "This is how it spreads. Through fear, through panic." Mara looked at him. "How do we fight something inside our minds?" Elias sighed. "Maybe not with weapons. Maybe with memory." He looked out the viewport toward Earth's distant light. "When I was a boy," he said quietly, "my father told me something. He said humans are small, fragile, but we have one strength nothing can copy. We care, we feel, we love. That's what the Dominion never understood." He turned to his crew. "The void mind can't eat that." Mara smiled faintly. "So what's the plan?" "We wake up the galaxy," he said. "Not with fear, with hope." The Valiant Dawn turned its systems back on. Slowly, its message was not of war, but of unity. "This is Captain Ward to all who can hear," the broadcast began. "You are not alone. Fear is not your master. Stand with us. Stand with Earth." The message spread, and something began to change. Across planets, people stopped running. Ships stopped retreating. The void mind hesitated, sensing resistance not from guns, but from hearts. Yet deep within the dark, it grew larger still. A whisper filled the void, ancient and endless. "You think love can stop the dark?" It said. Elias heard it in his mind, cold and slow. He whispered back, "No, but it can make the dark afraid." The stars flickered. The war for the soul of the galaxy had begun, and for the first time, it wasn't about who ruled, it was about who would remain human. The final stand, the galaxy was burning again. But this time, it wasn't war between empires. It was something deeper and something older. The void mind had spread across half the stars, turning light into shadow, eating thoughts, dreams, and hope. Worlds vanished into silence, fleets disappeared without a trace. Every scream became its food. Every fear made it stronger, and at the center of it all, one small ship still moved, the Valiant Dawn. Captain Elias Ward stood on the bridge, the glow of dying stars reflecting in his eyes. Around him, his crew worked in silence. "Tired but not broken," Lieutenant Mara Chen reported softly. "Captain, the Alliance fleets are ready. The Krell are holding the outer line. The Vayari have charged their shields." Elias nodded. "And Earth?" Mara smiled faintly. "Every ship we had left is up there, sir, waiting for your order." He took a long breath. "Then this is it," he said. "The final stand." They all knew what it meant. Win or vanish. The void mind couldn't be killed with weapons. But Elias had a plan, something no one else dared to try. In the heart of Earth's moon, scientists had built a device called the light pulse. It could project emotion, not signals, not words, but pure feeling. It was based on human brainwaves. The plan was to use it to flood the void mind with the one thing it couldn't consume: hope. But to activate it, someone had to deliver it into the center of the darkness, directly into the void itself. Elias had volunteered. Mara stood in front of him, eyes wet. "Sir, you don't have to do this." Elias smiled softly. "Someone has to, and besides, Earth taught me one thing." "What's that?" She whispered. "That we never ask others to fight for us. We lead the way." He walked to the launch bay. The light pulse device secured inside a small fighter. The hangar lights flickered as he stepped in. "Captain, you'll never make it back," Mara said through the comm. He chuckled. "I never planned to." The fighter launched into space, cutting through the black clouds of the void. Around him, thousands of Alliance ships fought. Humans, aliens, machines, side by side. It was chaos, but also beautiful. The galaxy had united for the first time. Not in fear, but in defiance, Elias flew straight into the storm. The stars vanished, replaced by darkness. His instruments failed. His comms went silent. Only one voice remained, the whisper of the void mind. "You are alone," it said. "You cannot fight the dark." Elias grinned. You don't know humans very well, he pushed forward. Deeper and deeper, the shadows tried to pull him apart, filling his mind with visions, Earth burning, his friends dying, his failures echoing in the dark. He heard the whispers of every dead soldier, every lost soul. Give up, they said. You cannot win. But Elias kept flying, whispering back, maybe not. But I'll make sure you remember us. The fighter reached the center, a giant eye of swirling black light. The heart of the void mind. The pulse began to hum. He placed his hand on the control, and for a moment he closed his eyes. He saw Earth blue and alive. He saw his crew, his people, his home, and he smiled. This is for all of us. He pressed the button. A wave of light burst outward. It wasn't a weapon, it was a memory. It carried laughter, kindness, courage, love, everything human. The darkness screamed, trying to swallow it. But the light spread faster, brighter across the galaxy. Ships stopped firing and watched the stars glow again. Aliens who had never known emotion suddenly felt warmth in their hearts. Machines paused, confused, unable to process the strange, beautiful energy. The void mind howled and then shattered. The stars came back. The silence broke. The galaxy breathed again on the valiant dawn. Mara watched the sensors light up. It's gone, she whispered. The darkness is gone. But there was no answer from the fighter. She stared at the empty space where Elias had vanished, tears falling quietly. He did it, she said softly. He saved us. Earth mourned and celebrated at the same time. A statue was built in his honor, Captain Elias Ward, the man who taught the stars to hope. Years later, children on distant worlds would ask their parents, who were the humans? And they would answer, they were the ones who refused to obey. The galaxy no longer trembled in fear. It trembled in awe because one small world, one fragile species, had done what no empire ever could. They reminded the universe that courage and kindness were stronger than control. And from that day on, whenever someone looked at the night sky, they saw a faint streak of light moving among the stars. Some said it was just a comet. Others whispered it was him, Captain Ward, still flying, watching, protecting, and somewhere in the deep silence between galaxies, a single voice echoed softly, for Earth, and for everyone who dreams. End of Part 5. The Final Stand.